There are very significant changes. The system that we were operating under had essentially been the same since 1972. There have been some changes made to take account of local government reorganisation, but the fundamental system hadn't changed. The changes brought in the 2006 Act, which became fully effective in August of last year, made some very fundamental changes as to how the system was to operate. And were really a result of a long review process which started back in 2004-2005 under the previous coalition government in Scotland. And these changes were not tinkering with the system. They were meant to make fundamental differences which will be in effect for a number of years now. And therefore, rather than just a slight review, we now have a very different system. The principles that underpin it haven't changed, but the way the system operates is now significantly different. It's a bit of a cliche, I think, in 2010 to talk about things being fit for purpose. It's a phrase you see bandied about all over the place. But that's the phrase that was used by the Scottish Government. They wanted to make the system fit for purpose, and in particular to help them achieve their primary objective through the planning system, which is to support sustainable economic development. That's particularly important given the current financial position of the country, but these changes predated that. They were actually thought about when the economy was quite buoyant, in fact. So to make it fit for purpose, to make it more efficient, to make it speedier, in fact, to allow decisions to be made quicker, to allow development plans to come forward quicker. And in that context, the changes to the system, the way it operates, not the principles upon which planning is based, as I said earlier on, have been changed, therefore, very significantly. It's probably a year in too early to come to a definite view about that, because particularly in the development plan process, that's the local plan and the structure plan which underpins the planning system, it's not unusual for these plans to take 2 or 3 years to prepare. So a year in, we've not got the new style plans in effect as yet. But certainly the early evidence is that in relation to development plans, the preparation of those will be a much quicker process. There will be less involvement for parties in terms of going to inquiries and that. So I think there will be quite a significant impact there. In terms of the development management side, so that's a specific decision-making process in respect of specific applications. There I think we can see the impact taking place now. We can see more evidence of how the effects are going to work through in practice. And certainly the intention is to have resources concentrated on the bigger applications which have the biggest or bigger economic impact. And there I think you can see the process changing quite significantly, more pragmatic approaches, councils hopefully being more proactive in terms of dealing with matters. Take the local plan system. Previously, a developer would make an objection to a draft local plan because their site wasn't allocated, and they would expect, all things being equal, to go to an inquiry and argue their position against the council. That doesn't happen as of right anymore, and in fact quite often their objection will be considered by a reporter in writing with no form of inquiry process, and trying to make clients understand that the system has changed in that fundamental way is quite difficult, that there's no right to be heard. And it has consequences for how you approach your objection. You need to get your objection in a much more specific, coordinated, thought-through fashion at an earlier stage. I suppose, again, it's another cliche, the system is more front-loaded, so you have to do the work earlier on. The ultimate benefit is that development plans, so that's the local plan and the structure plan, should be more up to date. In Scotland, typically, local plans were made or will be in effect for 9, 10, 12 years, even more, without being reviewed. The intention is to get them onto a 5-yearly cycle of review. Now, to get there, you need to get them all up to date in the first place. So the ultimate beneficiary is probably the local authority, which is able to get its plans up to date quicker and in a way that is more cost effective. From the developer's point of view, if you get a site in the council's thinking and therefore put in the local plan, that's a very important step to getting planning permission. The corollary of that, if your site's not in the local plan, the ability to get it into the local plan through the inquiry process is very much more difficult now, because the inquiry process won't be a hearing as such, it may just be dealt with in writing by a reporter, and you don't have the same opportunity to interface with that reporter. So swings and roundabouts depending upon exactly where you fit into the system.